And hello and good morning. We are live here on Boles.tv, BOLES.television.tv. I'm David Boles, and it's lovely to have you here with us, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. Well, we have a rather ugly day rearing its head today on the East Coast, New York City area. It's about 40 degrees and rain on and off. And we've had, as recently as 3 or 4 days ago, 80 degrees and sunny skies. And now they're saying we might get one more big snowstorm push in the next couple of days, which no one is looking forward to, but that we will persevere through because we have to. So lots of things to talk about today, trying to figure out where to begin. And I guess I'll begin at kind of an interesting area. To enhance the chat experience. Now, I don't know if these work everywhere. Excuse me, it's 9 o'clock. I'm being hotboxed by my neighbor. But this is 7tv.app. That is a 7, not a P. 7tv.app. And if you are on a desktop, you go to that website, you install 7tv.app. And then when you're in chat on YouTube or Twitch, you get special emotes. You can even sign up to change what your username looks like. And it's compatible with Chrome and Firefox and whatever this is, Chatterino 7, mobile. And I have a subscription. So I go up here and I click on the coat hanger. I'm logged in, and it gives me, these are my little icons of who I am and what I'm doing here. And then you can paint your username. Ice and Snow, Candy Cane, Festive Gold, Soft Fire. And they started off with like 3 of them 4 months ago, and they took off. And now they have like 20. And the latest one is Warm Winds. And Egg Hunt was released on Friday because of Easter. So they have Egg Hunt, Lollipop, and Warm Winds. And then when you're following along in chat, you can see these change. And it's kind of fun, and somebody said this is very retro, this is very Internet 2000. But it is sort of fun. So you install that as a Chrome application. Another one is Frankerphase Z. Again, these are emotes. You can create your own emotes. Other people have emotes. You can see the extra emotes in Twitch chat and I believe also on YouTube. And you log in with your Twitch account and you install these. And you have all kinds of silly things. I have all mine are cats. So if I'm chatting with someone, I can put in a lot of cats. And then you can also control these via your Twitch panel if you're in chat. To make them fire, to make them show, to make them work. And the big daddy of all of these is Better TTV. And that is their website, betterttv.com. Let's see, Frank is at frankerphase.com. Phase with a Z. And this is the same thing. You can pick emotes. It gives you channel points. And you install it. And you can get all of these wonderful interactive things. Again, I have selected cats. And as the channel owner on the Twitch stream and my YouTube channel, I can pick the emotes that I want people to be able to use. And then there's Better TV Pro, which gives you 50 channel emotes. I don't think I have that. I think mine's just regular. The 7TV I thought was worth paying for, but the Better TV didn't seem to really give me a lot of benefit. So that's a lot of fun if you're looking to enhance your chat experience online. And last week we also talked about recently talked about vegan jerky. And our good friend Gordon, who is now living in Florida, suggested a certain pasta from Trader Joe's. And I told Jana, hey, why don't we check it out? And she was near a Trader Joe's yesterday, and she said, okay. And she had saved the image that I sent her. And, hey, guess what we're having for lunch today? Right here. Organic, Italian, artisan pasta. Not regular pasta. This is artisan pasta. Cascatelli. It's delicious. It comes in a giant bag. This is an 8 servings bag. Oh, Gordon's there. He's excited. We're excited too, Mr. Gordon. It's going to be wonderful. Now, these do seem to have the shape of the outer ear, which I find a little weird. But I guess that they're shaped that way, with ridges and everything, so the pasta sticks to them. And I do like that. I'm big on pasta. Or you could, wear them as earrings, I guess. So this is going to be a very interesting experience. And because I'm from the Midwest, I like a lot of sauce. Now, in the New York City area, when you move here from the Midwest and you order, say, a spaghetti, and on the East Coast, they don't call it sauce, they call it gravy. So you're asked by the restaurant, how much gravy do you want? And you say, well, I don't want any gravy. I would like to have sauce on it. And they look at you dumb and they bring you a thing and it's basically butter noodles, which are delicious. But when you're expecting spaghetti with red sauce, you're a little disappointed. So it takes you a while to get okay, they call it gravy here. In some places, not all places. And I like a lot of sauce. But by default in New York City, they don't give you a lot of sauce. They give you that and they boop it on there. Hey, there's Gordon. One thing that irks my now 11-year-old son is that the creator of the pasta boasts about having sauceability and tooth syncability, the latter of which he says is a nonsense non-word. Very good. I applaud him. He is seeing through the puffery of promotional advertising. I mean, really, what can you say about pasta? You'd have to invent things, I guess, to make it taste better. So you order the pasta, and it shows up with a little thing of sauce in the middle. And you try to scoop around your sauce and so could I have a little bit more sauce, please? Because this is not really enough sauce for us because we're from the Midwest. And, in the Midwest, when you order spaghetti, it's really a bowl of marinara with some noodles tossed into it. That's what I'm talking about. That's how we like to eat our pasta. And if you order something like Chef Boyardee, ravioli, SpaghettiOs, it's soup with a little bit of pasta in it. It's very saucy. Not on the East Coast. The taste is in the pasta, it's not in the sauce. So they bring extra sauce, and it's usually in a little cup like this. You pour it on there. Could I have another one, please? It's easier just to cook it at home. So what I usually do is I cook the pasta. I drain the pasta. I like it very soft. I don't like it al dente. I don't want toothability in my pasta. And then I put the pasta back in the pot, and then, which I understand is very illegal, especially in Italian households, is I pour the sauce into the pasta, in the pot, and I let it sit there. Not boiling or anything, but I let it sit there and I let it soak in for about 5 minutes. So it's also that I stir it around. It's every inch of the pasta is covered in sauce. And it sinks in. It's very delicious. So I look forward to drowning my Cascatelli in a lot of marinara sauce in a couple of hours. Something else that arrived yesterday was the remainder of our new N95 masks. Now, this is a different company from the blue and the red that I showed you last week. This is B&X, a Texas company. I think these were the only black masks that I could find at the time on Project 95. Now, these do not look to me to be American-made. They're a little cheap feeling. But because I bought them through Project 95, I know they're authentic. I know they are viable. I know that they are certified. And they look a lot like this, my standard KN95. They look almost exactly the same. Inside and outside, it looks like exactly the same design, except this one, the N95 has the 2 loops, which I prefer because it doesn't go over your ear, and this KN95, which just has the loops that go over your ear and hurt you. This is what the KN95 looks like inside. Pretty standard. This is what the N95 looks like inside. Again, standard. But most of the N95 masks that we've ever used have a little foam nose pad that goes right here. That's sort of a benefit of having an N95 mask, is you get a little bit more nose protection, especially if you're wearing it all day. And this is slightly thicker than the N95. Maybe you can't tell, but it is slightly thicker. So in the spirit of participation, I'm trying it on. I've not tried it on yet. I've waited to do it with you. So this goes over your back of your head. Yes. This goes over the front. And here we go. It works. It feels comfortable. And the black looks good, especially in New York. It really does. But these were also extremely cheap. These were about $25 for 20. They did not come in a box, which disappointed me. They came in just like a regular plastic wrapper. The other N95s we've ordered have come in a proper box, wrapped in plastic. Not these. These were tossed into our mailbox, not even delivered to the front desk. In at your mailbox. B&X. But trying it on, it was very comfortable. And it did feel a little bit softer than the KN95. So we now have lots of different options for our 95 masks. Yesterday we talked a little bit about Spider-Man. And Gordon was kind enough to send me some interesting information. He sent me this in an email, Amazing Fantasy, which is, I guess, the debut of Spider-Man. And as you can see, Spider-Man, 2 words, not hyphenated. Stan Lee says he created Spider-Man with the hyphen so that it would not be confused with Superman. Okay. So this is evidence that Stan didn't really quite remember, but that's okay. So Marvel comic. And then here's another one that I just found on my own, which is the Amazing Spider-Man, just so we can see that that is how currently Spider-Man is being sold across America. Spider-Man. And here he is with the Fantastic Four. And they've never made an interesting Fantastic Four movie, which surprises me because it's kind of an interesting, wonderful story. But they don't have that recipe down yet. So that's fun. The Amazing Spider-Man. Which sort of leads us into this terrible situation of Disney and Florida and all of these terrible things going on. And last night, Rachel Maddow did a very interesting show about Putin and the right wing in America, and Ketanji Brown Jackson's nomination to the Supreme Court, and how the far-right GOPers are using Putin's methodology to taint their adversaries as in need of killing by labeling anyone who disagrees with them pedophiles. It's the ultimate insult, the ultimate accusation. You claim somebody is one, and then they say, I'm not one, and then it's coming out of their mouth. And that's what Putin used to get into power, and that is what Putin has used over the past 22 years to keep his authoritarian reign over the people of Russia. You accuse them of being pedophiles. And there are people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who said the 3 Republican senators who voted for Miss Brown for the Supreme Court, she accused them of being pedophiles, supporting pedophilia. And it makes you wonder where we're going with this. Book banning, fighting with Disney, the abortion thing. These people want us to live under an authoritarian thumb. They talk about freedom, but they don't mean freedom. To them, freedom means you do what I say. And it's a concern because if you're not like them, which is a right-wing, white Christian believer, then you're undeserving. You are other. You don't belong here. And they are slowly moving into, once they win on abortion, the next thing that's up that's going to be destroyed is Griswold. And Griswold is simply the right to privacy. They don't want privacy. They want to be able to watch you and track you and do it in the name of the government and to punish you if they suspect you of pedophilia. Because what's worse than that? Is there a worse accusation than calling someone a child molester? All you have to do is say it, and it becomes true in the media. And then, as other people have said, look, they are making a very strong push where the next thing is, look, all of these liberals and Democrats and other people who don't believe as we do, the Susan Collinses, the Mitt Romneys, the Murkowskis, we have to take care of them. Not so subtly suggesting that they need to be removed. If you don't believe in authoritarianism, and if you're not explicitly against pedophilia, you don't deserve to be here, you don't deserve to live. So it's going to be Roe, Griswold, and then the right to shoot on contact. Well, I was threatened. He looked at me with pedophilia. And I had to stand my ground, and I had to protect myself. And my children. And my neighbor's children. And I'm reminded of this story that I read the other day. And this is a Karen story about a guy on an airplane. He's a programmer, so he types a lot of stuff in terminal. And this Karen got out of her seat and said, "You're trying to hack the airplane." And the guy ignored her like, well, I'm working. Hacking the airplane. So this Karen woman went to the flight attendant at the front of the airplane and said, "There's a guy next to me. He's trying to hack the airplane. He's trying to crash the airplane." And the flight attendant rushes down the aisle and rushes up and says, "Sir, please, what are you doing? Why are you hacking the airplane?" And the guy, who is deep into his work, saying, "I'm not hacking the airplane. I'm working at work. I'm a computer programmer." It's just like the guy who 2 years ago was doing math on an airplane, and another Karen, another woman next to him, said he's writing in terroristic Arabic. He's writing a death note for all of us. And they rushed over, the pilot came over, the guy said, "Look, this is a math equation. I mean, how do you deal with these dumb people who think they know everything?" So the flight attendant rushed back and said, "Sir, please stop interfering with the airplane." And the guy explained and showed the air flight attendant what was going on. And she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And the air flight attendant told Karen, "Go back to your seat." And the air flight attendant went back to the front. 5 minutes later, the Karen gets up out of her chair, goes in the back, goes to a second flight attendant. And the guy can't overhear this conversation because it's in the back and he's in the front. But in 2 minutes, the flight attendant comes rushing up from the back saying, "Sir, I understand that you are interfering with the flight control of this airplane. You're trying to crash us. Please stop. What are you doing?" And there's the Karen now, not sitting down, but involved. And Gordon says the oldest joke is one of the oldest terrorist organizations is Algebra. That's very good. I didn't get it at first, Gordon. Algebra. I get it. That's very funny. And the Karen starts, and the guy says, "Look, I'm not doing anything to the airplane. This is my computer. I do computer work. I'm typing in commands because I program computers. It has nothing to do with the airplane." And the flight attendant's confused and looks at the Karen, and the Karen says, "I work in tech. I'm a manager. I oversee people who do computer programming. And this guy is not doing what my people do. He's doing something different. He's interfering with the progress of the plane." And the guy said to the Karen, "What exactly am I doing?" And she said, "You are interfering with the progress of the airplane by typing in commands." And the guy said, "That's not what I'm doing. If you're such an expert, why don't you tell me what I'm doing?" "I don't know what you're doing, but what are you doing? You're up to no good. I know computers." And the flight attendant's like, "Oh no. What's going on?" So the computer programmer guy says to the air flight attendant, "Look, this is my computer. These are the commands. It's all about web programming and about backing stuff up. I'm working on the airplane. I'm not doing anything to the airplane." And the flight attendant said, "Sir, I'm so sorry." And the guy said, "This is the second time she's done this to me. You know, she went to the front first and you're the second air." "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't know. Thank you for explaining." And the flight attendant told the Karen to sit down and leave him alone. And she went in the back. And the guy said the Karen ignored him the rest of the flight. There were no incidences in the flight. And people commenting said, "Well, I'm sure the Karen has told all of her friends that she stopped a terroristic act. He was trying to bring down the airplane, but I stopped him." And then the guy said when they started bringing drinks around that he was the first flight attendant, fed him a couple of drinks for free, and the one in the back fed him a couple of drinks for free, and it was a way to apologize for bothering him. And you just wonder where these people, how they are empowered to not just live their life, but to decide to live your life for you. And to tell you what you're actually doing when you're not doing anything of the sort. I find it all very concerning and really sort of dangerous. Because there are people who listen to those Karens. She has been empowered by her circle at home to behave that way. And then she comes on a public airplane and looks around. Well, let's see, what can I do today? Where's my authority today? Ah! You're trying to crash the airplane, and I found you out. Absolutely bizarre. Now, before we get into Disney versus Florida, and we do have a reporter on scene by the name of Gordon. And while Gordon doesn't represent the state of Florida, he might be able to explain a little bit better what in the world is going on down there. And what in the world is Ron DeSantis trying to do to the rest of the nation? It's very frightening stuff. And on that high note, we'll take a break. We'll be back in a moment. And we are back from break. I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv, BOLES.tv. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. And I tell you, my hair right here is very strange looking. It looks like it's standing straight up. In the mirror, it looks really terrific. And then I get here with the bright lights, and it just looks weird. But your hair's your hair. What are you going to do? Now, as I mentioned before the break, our friend Gordon lives in Florida. Moved there from the East Coast. And he lives in a very beautiful town close to Disney World. I always get land and world confused. Land is in California, the world is in Florida. And I wouldn't say that Gordon is a right-wing wacko, although maybe he's changed. I haven't seen him for a while. But what must it be like to live in what appears from an outsider to be such a red, conservative, terrible state with a really rotten governor, who I guess people enjoy and like? I don't know how you survive, but maybe once you're there, it doesn't matter. Because the weather's so good and you can watch the fireworks at night and there's no tax. So Walt Disney, Gordon says, I am not, in fact, a right-wing wacko, and I'm looking forward to voting against the governor. Well, that's good. And I'm not accusing you of that, Gordon. I'm just kidding around with you, because I know you're not like that at all in any way. That's what's so surprising, that you moved to Florida. But there are many reasons to live in Florida. Most people in New York, when they retire, they move to Florida. They don't go west, don't go to Arizona, don't go to California, they go down to Florida. Although I hear that if you ever want a cat, to never get a cat from Florida. This is what a cattery has told me, that Florida cats have a lot of problems with ringworm and infections because of the weather, that it's very wet and very humid down there, and it's not good for cats. They say you can take a cat into Florida, but don't get a cat from Florida. I don't know if it's true. It's a fact that wildly pops up. So Walt Disney, that Walt Disney is, and this is a story from yesterday, is in a big fight with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis over the Burbank Company's position on a controversial new law. But will it have an impact on Disney's bottom line? Disney's unusual right to act as its own government in Disney World in Florida, escaping local taxes and regulations, may be in some peril. If Disney loses that, it could be costly and more burdensome. Several experts believe that fight will simmer down, but some point out that the culture war may dent the company's standing with many customers. And it all started last month when DeSantis signed Florida's Parental Rights in Education law, which takes effect July 1 and prohibits classroom instruction on sexual orientation or gender identity in kindergarten through 3rd grade. It's the Don't Say Gay bill, and Disney's against it. Disney said, our goal as a company is for this law to be repealed by legislature or struck down in the courts. And I think that's great. And people are surprised that Disney took that stand. But the problem is that the super creative, wonderful people that Disney relies on to write their musicals and to script their movies and to act in them are more liberal than conservative. And while they enjoy working for Disney, although Disney is historically known not to pay anybody anything, they are willing to suffer the low pay in exchange for being treated equally. And so it's the artists and the producers and the actors who went to Disney and said, look, you have to stand up against this law in Florida. You cannot, we don't want to work for you, for a company that does not support us. And some of us, our friends, our family, are gay and trans and This is an attack on us and on the people that we love, and we need you to do something. So Disney did the right thing. The only thing they really could do is stand up to Florida and say, look, this is not right. You need to fix it. Well, since Disney stood up, DeSantis has talked about revoking the company's special privileges by dismantling the Reedy Creek Improvement District Act, a 1967 measure that gave Disney control over 47,000 acres that straddled 2 counties in Florida where Disney World is located. The company decides on its own public services, zoning, and land use decisions and effectively allows Disney World to act as its own government. Now, I think DeSantis is playing a very dangerous game here. Because Disney is more than Disney World. It's more than land. It's more than a swamp. It's a big, powerful company that children love and that adults love. Is this really a fight that Ron DeSantis wants? To go up against Mickey Mouse? If the law is repealed, Disney may be required to submit building inspections by 2 counties. It may be struck with fees and taxes it now escapes. And various regulations could be imposed by local politicians. It's a no-win situation. From a marketing perspective, Disney finds itself caught between both sides of the political spectrum. Conservatives are bashing the company for opposing the bill, which they see as an attack on Disney, by Disney, on parents' rights. Left-leaning critics are upset for Disney's past political donations to various Republicans, including DeSantis. But if you're a big company, you give money to both sides. You have to. Marty Cooper, owner of a PR firm in Encino and a Disney shareholder who worked as an advertising promotion manager when Walt Disney was alive, said that Disney is in a no-win situation. They offend the left, and then they offend the right. That's what happens when they choose to do political donations. Right. But the whole Disney setup in Florida is political. It's zoning, and it's taxes, and it's governance. The place was built on politics. Disney is arguably the most powerful company in Florida. It's America's largest single-site employer with 77,000 employees at its Orlando theme parks. It has control of 43 square miles. Wow, that's big. That's almost an hour from end to end. The Walt Disney World Resort, comprised of 4 theme parks, 2 water parks, 36 hotels, and other amenities, welcome an average of 58 million people a year, making it the most visited resort in the world. Now, is anybody able to wage a campaign against Disney to say, oh, they're all about children, and the pedophile name becomes attached? Now, would parents stop taking their kids to Disney? I don't think so. In the past decade, Gordon says the place was also built on shell companies buying land, really inexpensively before public realized who was really buying the land. I remember I saw a story about that. And very smart and very cunning by Disney. And Walt Disney himself was sort of a neoconservative. There are certain types of people he didn't like. In the past decade, Disney's dollars flowing to the State House in Tallahassee have skyrocketed. The company spent a total of $2.1 million on state elections in 2010. By 2018, when DeSantis was elected governor, that figure ballooned to $28.3 million on Florida state elections. They have to do it. In 2020, Disney donated $4.8 million to individual candidates in Florida, including $50,000 to DeSantis. The question stands as to how far the Florida Republicans plan to go in seeking to punish Disney, and whether they revoke the Reedy Creek Improvement District. Cooper believes it won't happen. Could they revoke it? Yes. Will they do it? No. They'll find some other way to punish Disney. Disney is too big a cash cow for all of Florida to do more than a slap on the mouse's wrist. I agree. There's no way. It's political theater. Marty Kaplan, media professor, director of the USC Annenberg Norman Lear Center, does not believe any quarrel will affect Disney's bottom line. It's a lot of political theater, pandering to various interest groups. I'd be surprised if it has any impact on any revenue or regulation. I completely agree. It's nothing. And I don't know why Ron DeSantis wants to even begin to pick a fight with Disney. Because all people have to say is, how much money have you taken from Disney? And why did you take it? And what have you done for them? Now, this is a long, very interesting article from the Los Angeles Business Journal. But DeSantis is doubling down, just like his idol, the person he idolizes, Donald J. Trump. Disney has alienated a lot of people now, DeSantis said. And so the political influence they are used to wielding, I think, is dissipated. Meh, I don't think so. We'll see. Rolling Stone yesterday reported right-wing protesters supporting DeSantis launch extremely ineffective protest outside Disney World. They're all upset about Don't Say Gay. Over the weekend, a bunch of right-wing protesters tried their hardest to stick it to Disney and disrupt the giant corporation's massive theme park business by hanging outside one of the several entrances to Disney World. The protest, which featured anywhere from several to dozens of people, per local news reports, took place on Saturday, April 16. It was part of an ongoing effort to attack Disney after the company came out against Florida's Don't Say Gay bill, with protesters throwing out wildly unsubstantiated claims that the entertainment giant supports grooming kids. See, there it goes, the pedophile stuff. It's coming. This reminds me of Bill Clinton when he was president. And don't ask, don't tell when it comes to being gay in the military. Now, how dumb is that? Don't ask me. Don't ask me if I'm gay. Don't tell us you're gay. Because if the answer is, I'm gay, then you're out. But as long as we don't know, pretend not to know. And as long as you don't tell us, because you're scared of getting fired, everything's good. Don't ask. We won't ask you because we don't want to know. And don't tell us because we don't want to know. And then you just live your life there, happy in the closet. And everything's great. That was ridiculous. The protest took place outside one of a handful of entrances to Disney World. This one at the scenic intersection of Hotel Plaza Boulevard and Florida State Road 535. Per one very proud of himself protester on social media, the Patriot Convoy, like the trucker convoy in Canada, managed to engineer a blockade in front of the entrance, as if there weren't plenty of other ways to get in. Again, this is all political theater, virtue signaling. To boot, the closest major Disney World attraction to the entrance where the protesters set up wasn't Magic Kingdom or even Epcot. It was Disney Springs, a glorified shopping district, boasting such can't-miss sights as Planet Hollywood and Azara. Saturday's protest came as the far right, there we go, ramped up its attacks on Disney after the company took its sweet time speaking out against the Don't Say Gay law, which Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed in the end of March. The bill bans classroom discussion on sexual orientation in kindergarten through third grade and broadly prohibits discussions further unless they meet an age appropriateness criteria. The law also gives parents the right to sue over alleged violations. Just ridiculous. Since Disney voiced its support for the bill, the company has become a major right-wing punching bag, taking their inspiration from Vladimir Putin. Fox News host Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham have repeatedly slammed the company as woke, while Governor DeSantis has threatened to repeal its corporate status in the state as a self-governing entity. Meanwhile, some factions and figures on the right have gone full satanic panic, with groundless claims linking the company to child trafficking and grooming accusations. There you go. The pedophile label is being applied to Disney. What are they doing with all those children? Why are they trying to touch our children with their magical lands? Gordon says, I imagine all it would take is a couple of excited Everglazed, that's a donut place at Disney Springs, to decimate silly protesters. I hope so. But I think it's coming, those tunnels that the Disneyland characters use to move from one place to the other. You're going to start hearing things about them, I bet. And what goes on in them, I bet. And now the whole place is set up to take advantage of vulnerable children who are just trying to have a nice time. And they can't because Walt Disney's trying to turn them into something. It's just so despicable. Oh, here's another Florida story. The Florida Department of Education rejects 54 math textbooks, citing references to critical race theory. Gordon says, at Everglazed, by the way, you can get an amazing vegan as in the root vegetable donut, which tastes way better than it probably sounds. Wow, I love it. Now, Gordon, are you the only one in your family who is vegan, or are your children and your wife, have they joined you, or do they sometimes join you, or are you just out there on your own? And when I heard this story yesterday about math textbooks and critical race theory, I didn't understand it. And I've seen it on the news, reported today, briefly, and I still don't understand it. I don't know what they're talking about. The Florida Department of Education announced that it blocked 54 math textbooks from being used in classrooms. In making the decision, which was backed by Ron DeSantis, the board pointed to critical race theory references. Gordon says, I'm mostly vegan, do have cheese now and again, and they are full-on cheeseheads. Yeah, cheese is the hard thing. Now, if you know Miyoko, she has very interesting cheeses. I find them a little bitter, but she has a new mozzarella pizza cheese that's in a bottle. And you pour it on your pizza, and it browns and tastes just like mozzarella. I've not tried it yet, but people are crazy about it. My favorite vegan cheese is from Violife. Oof, anything and everything they create is just really delicious. They have like a cheese spread. They have cheese slices. They have block cheese. Everything I've tried from them is absolutely spectacular. Much better in my Midwestern palate than Miyoko, which I find a little sour and vinegary to me. And critical race theory is almost exclusively taught in collegiate settings, including law schools. How can a math textbook be about CRT? I still don't understand it. The Florida Department of Education announced they would block 54 mathematics textbooks. I didn't even know there were 54 textbooks from being used as instructional materials in classrooms, citing references to critical race theory. The board said it rejected 54 math books out of 132 submitted for review, roughly 41% of the total, and added that the texts were removed from consideration because they incorporate prohibited topics. Gordon said they did not even name one of the books. Isn't that fascinating? I'm worried for the State of the Union, because there are people who knowingly and willfully tell lies in order to incite people who may not be all there and may not be very highly educated. And they latch onto this, and in their world it becomes true and becomes a fact. And it's very dangerous. Critical race theorists have examined how the legacy of racism continues to reverberate through laws and politics that exist today. Over the past 2 years, conservatives have systematically targeted the discipline, alleging that its teachings divide America. Okay, we know all that, but what does that have to do with math? Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, who is up for re-election this fall and who is thirsty to be president, and has become one of the highest-profile conservative politicians in the country, praised the move by Commissioner of Education Richard Corcoran and his colleagues. It seems some publishers attempted to slap a coat of paint on an old house for the foundation of Common Core. I'm grateful that Commissioner Corcoran, I'm still not seeing what the accusation is. And I guess Gordon tells me there isn't one because they haven't named one book. Since taking office in 2019, DeSantis is back to rap. I've read this twice. I mean, this is just. I wouldn't be surprised if Florida Republican leaders are preparing to ban algebra from high schools, she tweeted. They object to subliminal use of brackets as an introduction to the concept of inclusion. They don't like the equal sign and they hate solving problems. Okay, she's kidding. Democrat State Rep Anna Eskamani, the first Iranian American to hold state legislative office in Florida, blasted state GOP leaders regarding the move. I just don't get it. And maybe that's the whole point. They don't want us to get it. They just want to make the accusation, which is what these hardcore right-wing politicians tend to do. They just accuse you of something and leave it out there. They don't have to follow it up. They're not sued for it. And Democrats have not yet learned, after all of this fear-mongering, how to fight back. They just take it. Oh, nobody believes them. They're just being ridiculous again. Well, they know they accused you of being a pedophile and of going to Disney. Well, it's okay. People know I'm not. Oh, no. Oh, no. Nobody knows anything anymore. If someone comes after you, you have to punch back, and you have to punch back very hard. With the truth. Make them defend what they're saying. Which is why I'm so glad that this stolen election that didn't happen, that the Dominion voting people are going after all of these people and suing them for millions and millions of dollars to call out the truth and to go on the record that these people are sleazy, sleazy liars. And unfortunately, the one person who really needs to take the lead on this is the President of the United States, who happens to be a Democrat. But he also happens to be old school, and he's one of the disbelievers. Oh, they don't mean that. Oh, we'll all get along. Oh, I can convince Joe Manchin to go along with my ideas. Well, how's that working out for you, Joe? You're the president. Joe should be loyal to you as a Democrat. Sinema should be loyal to you as a Democrat. You are not using the power of the office. And there are some who say it's too late. We have a lot of work to do. And now we're going to take a very small blood pressure break. We will return in one moment. And we're back from break. I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv. BOLES.tv. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern, doing our good effort to try to make sense of this very strange and increasingly dangerous world in which we find ourselves living. Well, our friend in Florida, Gordon, sent us a screenshot, as he said in chat. And this is a screenshot from Facebook. And here it is. Walt Disney World. Florida residents celebrate spring and our 50th anniversary with a flowery festival on Earth Day. Event and more. Let's grow the parks. The Walt Disney World Resort. That ad targets Florida residents only, says Gordon. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. I just can't imagine why Ron DeSantis wants to have a fight with Disney. It just seems so ridiculous. Unless this is part of the overall pedophilia scheme to quiet people and shut them up. Look, you cater to children. That's weird, and we don't like it, so be careful before we start accusing you of things that maybe you're doing or not doing. Very disturbing. And how do you fight it? They make the accusation against you, and then the best thing is to not respond, but you have to respond. But if you respond, you're going to probably have to say something, well, I'm not that. It's foolishness. You accuse them of something minor, of something they've actually done, something you actually have proof of, and they, gaslight you. What are you talking about? I never did that. Denny Hastert, who was Speaker of the House. Well-known pedophile. It's all true. Mo Brooks. It's all there. It's on the record. Which brings us to our next dysfunctional idea. The censorship battle has a new frontier. Now it's your public library. And right here, this is the important part. Conservatives, it's not liberals that are trying to change what you're reading. It's conservatives trying to block you and your kids from reading what's in a public library. They're teaming with politicians to remove books and gut library boards from 2 days ago. And they do it by cutting off funding. That's what they did in Tennessee. Well, we don't like the books you're buying, so, the next month we're going to cut your salaries. And we're going to stop all funding of local libraries. Because you're buying the wrong books. And you're not going to be paid. And you don't have new books to buy. And, well, if you were behaving, we wouldn't have a problem. But since you're out there actively campaigning against conservative white moral Christianity, well, you get no money. In early November, an email dropped into the inbox of Judge Ron Cunningham, the silver-haired head chair of the governing body of Llano County in Texas's picturesque hill country. The subject line read, "Pornographic filth at the Llano Public Libraries." And who decides that? Now, if they were writing that today, following Putin, they would say pedophilic filth. It came to my attention a few weeks ago that pornographic filth has been discovered at the Llano Library, wrote a 54-year-old local church volunteer. I'm not advocating for any book to be censored, but to be relocated to the filthy, perverted adult section. It's the only way I can think of to prohibit censorships of books I do agree with. Mainly the Bible. If more radicals come to town and want to use the fact that we censored these books against us. Wallace then attached an Excel spreadsheet of about 60 books she found objectionable, including those about transgender teens, sex education, and race, including such noble works as Between the World and Me by author and journalist Ta-Nehisi Coates, an exploration of the country's history written as a letter to his adolescent son. Not long after, the county's chief librarian sent the list to Suzette Baker, head of one of the library's 3 branches. She told me to look at pulling the books off the shelf and possibly putting them behind the counter. I told them that's censorship. And it's important to know that censorship doesn't mean not telling someone something, doesn't mean removing something. Censorship is governmental. The government is telling you can't read this. Now, if you remove something online, if you write something and an editor doesn't publish it, or you post a reply in a comment thread and it's deleted, that's not censorship. Censorship is what a government does to stop free speech. Wallace's list was the opening salvo in a censorship battle that is unlikely to end well for proponents of free speech in a county of 21,000 nestled in rolling hills of mesquite trees and cactus northwest of Austin. Ooh, that was a big boom outside. I don't know what that was. Yeah, something blew up. Or maybe it was the elevator, but it felt like it was outside. I don't know if you heard that, but I felt it. And there she is. There's Miss Wallace right there in her lovely outfit, standing up and taking a stand against books. Leaders have taken the works as seemingly innocuous as the popular children's picture book In the Night Kitchen by Maurice Sendak off the shelves, closed library board meetings to the public, and named Wallace the vice chair of a new library board, stacked with conservative appointees, some of whom did not even have library cards. I mean, this reads like a skit from Saturday Night Live. When Saturday Night Live was good in the 70s, not now. When the writers wrote something that was actually funny. And this is a trend in conservative areas. We don't want you reading that book. No, read this book. Just read the Bible and be happy. But only this Bible. Not that Bible, not the other Bible, not other things that talk about God. No, the Christian Bible. The Old Testament, not the New Testament. That's full of sin. The Old Testament, where God punishes people. The danger is that we have to start information and books that only address one viewpoint that are okayed by just one certain group. We lose diversity of thought and diversity of ideas libraries are known for, and represent one viewpoint that is the loudest. There have been an estimated 17 challenges leveled at public libraries in Texas recently, and she expects to have many, many more. Cunningham, a 2-term judge who was once part of the security detail for then Governor George W. Bush, acted quickly on the complaints. He strode into the main library a few weeks later and took 2 books off the shelves. Sendak's In the Night Kitchen, because some parents had objected to the main character in the story, a little boy appearing nude. And It's Perfectly Normal, Changing Bodies, Growing Up, Sex and Sexual Health, a sex education book for parents and children ages 10 and up that includes color illustrations of the human body and sex acts. In America, this is happening right now. Censorship by fiat. He also ordered librarians to pause buying new material and to pull any books with photos of naked or sexual conduct, regardless if they were animated or actual photos. These are the people who are doing the censorship. They're very happy to serve, very happy to do it. In December, the commissioners voted to suspend the county's e-book system, Overdrive, because they said it lacked sufficient parental controls, which also cut off access for the elderly and people with disabilities or those otherwise unable to visit the physical library. Officials say they plan on replacing the system. Eventually, I guess. They also shuttered the libraries for 3 days just before Christmas to review and reorganize the teen and children's collections. God has been so good to us. Please continue to pray for the librarians and that their eyes would be open to the truth. They are closing the library for 3 days, which are to be entirely devoted to removing books that contain pornographic content. Green Little, a mother of two who lives with her family on an 1800s-era cattle ranch outside of town, said it was not easy to take a stand in conservative Llano country, where nearly 80% of the majority white population voted for Trump. A Confederate flag still flies at the Civil War memorial. Some friends stopped returning her calls. Social invitations dried up. Green Little recently threw a Beatrix Potter-themed fundraiser at a park to raise money for the Library Foundation, complete with a petting zoo and baby lambs. For counter-programming, Wallace, we saw her earlier, the wife of the town's hospital board president, hosted an adults-only showing of a video of pedophile chasers. It was held at a hall next door to the park at the same time as the garden party. Wallace declined to comment. So they're replacing the board. They're removing books. People are being fired for not following the ill truth of the matter. And what's going to happen in the end, where all of these people who have been accused of being pedophiles have to stand up and fight back? And they're going to have to fight back, because the next thing that's going to be coming their way is probably a gun pointed at them. But there is Oh, and Gordon said the comment section is gross on that, or I can imagine. Oh my goodness, Gordon, that's terrible. And I can imagine the way out of this is soon the right is going to label every single person who doesn't go along with them, not just disagrees, but who doesn't go along with them and who doesn't absolutely agree with what they're saying. They're all going to be labeled pedophiles. Now, once that happens and every single person is named as a pedophile, without proof, it's just an accusation, then I believe it will start to lose some of its sting. Because when everybody is something, then the danger dissipates. Now, if you have half the country saying the other half of the country are all pedophiles, well, that's going to be a problem. And the courts aren't going to protect you, and the police are not going to protect you because you're going to be on the wrong side. And it's a disenchantment that isn't going to give itself away very easily. Now, before we take our next little break, this is very interesting from Medscape. Physician Compensation Report. It sounds very official. And in some way it is. How much did physicians earn overall? $368K, $399K. Specialists earn more than overall generalists. If you're in a system, a PCP, you earn a lot less. 100,000 less. So who wouldn't want to be a specialist? Average annual physician compensation by specialty: plastic surgeons, $500,000. Orthopedics, $500,000. Cardiology, $500,000. And it goes on and on. Urology is higher, probably because nobody wants to do it. Dermatology, pretty good, $400,000. Ophthalmology is good. OBGYN, not as good. Neurology, I'm surprised, is a little low. Psychiatry's low, $287,000, comparatively speaking. Internal medicine, low. Pediatrics, low. The worst, public health and preventive medicine, which we all probably need the most. Who's up, who's down? Up 13%, otolaryngology. Gastroenterology is up 12%. Now, this is just a yearly report, and the most interesting thing is what we're going to get to at the end. Physician salary trends, physician's average incentive bonus by specialty, orthopedics at $126K, ophthalmology at $100K, cardiology at $85. Where's neurology on this list? Oh, only $29K. Half receive an incentive bonus. Who earns more, men or women? Uh-oh. It's not that terrible. Men buy a little bit more than women. Getting better. Well, here's the really great part of this whole thing. It's very interesting seeing these comparisons. And then you read the comments. The comments tell you everything, because a lot of them are in the profession and doctors. I wonder if the doctor shortage referred to is simply a manufactured concept to allow either non-doctors to practice unsupervised medicine or allow increased entry of foreign doctors, either or both, to decrease overall physician negotiating power in the future. Now that's insightful and very interesting. And the bane of modern medicine to me are the physician assistant, who is not a nurse, but not a physician. But they can write prescriptions. And the way they operate, I've lost my music, the way they operate, I find very discouraging, because you go to your cardiologist and you have an appointment at 10 a.m. and the average wait time is usually a couple of hours, because the cardiologists have no sense of time. They come late. They go to their office, they make you wait an hour as they unwind and take their coat off and have some coffee. And then, so the way that they do this is they have the physician assistant come out to the lobby and saying, well, if you want to see the doctor, it's going to be 2 hours. But if you're just like getting a refill on your medicine, or you don't really have anything that's important, letting the person sitting there decide, I can see you right now, and then you can be out of here in 5 minutes. And there are people who jump at that opportunity to get the hell out of there in 5 minutes instead of having to sit there for 2 hours wasting your time. Am I being cheated? Yes. Are they charging me the same office visit as if I were seeing my doctor instead of a physician assistant? Yes. Do I care? Not particularly. I just want my medicine refilled. But I think that they could do it a little cheaper. Like waive my copay or something, because they're getting a lot of money from my insurance company for me seeing a doctor that's not there. Here are the other comments. Medicine is the only business where increases in the cost doing business cannot be passed on to the customer. No wonder physicians are quitting medicine. Very insightful. Now, you wouldn't think that, because people who make a lot of money, like doctors, the community, the uninformed community, thinks, oh, they're just minting money. Well, a lot of these places, it's the insurance companies. If you have a contract with them, and most doctors do, the insurance company tells you how much you can charge. I remember when psychiatry was at the bottom. They are now 20K above internal medicine now. Why? Because they quit working for insurance and went to cash business 15 years ago. Family medicine is doing this now with direct pharmacy care with great results. Since I've left the insurance plantation, I am better off. I save my patients thousands on their deductibles and make healthcare affordable for those without insurance. Yeah, right. Pediatricians and specialists are just getting started to catch on. Corporate medicine is bloated with inflated prices and is collapsing under its own weight. I love practicing medicine again because I'm making money, and my patients love the great healthcare they receive. Psychiatrists have led the way. Well, isn't that interesting? So it is about money. It's not about service, not about making people feel better. And you have every right to earn as much money as you think you can get away with. But a lot of these doctors who are doing this now, they charge you a yearly fee, a participation fee, a subscription fee, if you will. You pay them $10,000, and you can come and see them once a week, twice a week, and they'll sit down and chat with you for 20 minutes instead of 5 minutes. I guess if you have the money and you want to pay for it, that's great to have a physician at your beck and call, and they'll make house calls for an extra fee. But your baseline in is 10 grand. So it's very interesting to read these comments on these reports because the report is very static, and then the real life throwback and beat back comes in the comments, even from doctors. One more brief break. Back in a moment. And we are back from break. I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv. Thank you so much for being with us today. We are here Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. And just to kind of put a finishing thought on this doctors and salaries, I have, for some reason that I really can't explain, have dealt with a lot of doctors over my lifetime in creative capacities as consultants. Oh, Gordon sent me an email. And they are some of the most difficult people in the world to work with. They believe they know everything. They are convinced you don't know anything. They're always late. They're argumentative. They are generally unreasonable. And while they know typically more than the average person, in the end, they really don't know everything, even though they believe they do. So I always tell people to be very aware, like don't write a book with a doctor. Don't plan on having regular meetings with an MD because you're going to be miserable. Now I'll check my email and see what Mr. Gordon has to say. Now, Gordon has emailed me, and he said, let me see if I can get this screenshot up. Gordon says, guessing the same folks angry about Walt Disney World are chuckling at people seeking good mental health. And here is the screenshot that Mr. Gordon sent me. Showing thousands of people turning to Cerebral to help manage their anxiety, depression, and see more stressful and intimidating. $99 for your first month of weekly therapy. Stressful and intimidating. Yeah, it's a hard thing. Depression, mental illness, it's a big issue, and one that is about shaming. And you can see there are laughter reactions at the bottom. People are very mean and very cruel. And medication has helped a lot of people feel better about themselves. As I've written before, all of my friends are medicated. Most of my friends are medicated. And there's nothing wrong with that. Depression is an imbalance in the brain. It's a chemical imbalance that can be fixed and righted. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and you keep trying, and sometimes it works for a while and then wears off and you have to go a different direction. Now, there are some people who see this mental illness thing, disability thing, as a game. And it's usually not students, it's parents. And unfortunately, at universities, the game now is, and this is what makes people who are really seriously ill fractured, because you have people who are not seriously ill and are quite whole, pretending to be in need of some kind of accommodation by the university. Meaning extra time taking a test. Meaning I don't have to go to class regularly. All these different things. And the university, because they don't want trouble, approves it. And the instructors and the other students in class have to deal with it. Now, some people are genuinely in need of those accommodations. As well as many others are not in need of those accommodations, but they want extra time. They want the extra advantage over other students in the class. And there are some students who are in severely need of an accommodation who will not take the accommodation because they were raised in such a way that they don't want to appear that way. They don't want to be labeled disabled or in need of an accommodation, even though they need one, but they're too embarrassed and ashamed to take one. And on the other side, as I just said, there are people who don't care. Label me whatever you want. If that means I get another week and a half to finish my paper while nobody else gets that extra time. It's really a cunning game. And if there was some way to really vet these accommodation requests, it would be a different thing. But they're not really vetted if you have a doctor's note, which anybody can get a doctor's note from anybody. And students think, well, I have a doctor's note that excuses me from any sort of responsibility in class. It's an issue. And I would say over the past 10 years, the requests for special accommodations from students have risen dramatically. I would say by 80%. So maybe once every year and a half, you'd have one or two people who need an accommodation and who seriously needed an accommodation. Now you have 3, 4, half a class, 6 a semester in one class. Oh, I have to have an accommodation. I get more time. I have a disability. And you can't question it. You can't say anything about it. You can't do it. University's scared of him. University wants $60,000 in tuition fees from wherever they can get it. Sure, come on over. We'll give you whatever accommodation you need. We specialize in that. But do they hire extra staff and extra help? No. There's one person I know at a major university on the East Coast, a private university on the East Coast, who works in the disability office. And she said her caseload used to be 200 students a semester that she had to deal with, accommodate, work with, and it's now 2,000 a semester. She has no help. They've not hired extra people. Her workload has gone from 200 to 2,000. Just over the past couple of years. COVID-related, whatever. But that is a recipe for disaster at every level. And then you have some people who are just standing on the outside and joking. The mask mandate that used to be, that's now been dropped by a Trump judge. They announced it on an airplane, on the news. No more masks. People were cheering. Thinking, what's wrong with you? I mean, there are people around us who are sick and unwell and who need to be protected. And okay, they're wearing a mask, but often just wearing a mask, as we know, is not really enough. But if everybody on an enclosed plane wears a mask, then there's less chance of harm. But people don't care about other people now. They just care about themselves. What's in it for me? What can I get out of it? How can I get extra time? How can I get time and a half to finish my assignment when other students don't? How can I get the edge? How can I accuse my professor of not accommodating me when I need accommodating? It goes on every day, and it's a big game. And the old-time professors know it, and they just go along with it. They go with the flow. And the newer professors who can read right through it, and I have not taught for 10 years, so I'm not talking about myself. These are stories I hear from my friends. They get a little anxious and a little upset, saying, I think you're taking advantage of a system that is not crafted or created to be taken advantage of by people who don't need the advantage. And there's still people who are in shame. I have friends who say, look, I need to get off my depression medication. And I say, why? You're functional. And there's some people that, well, I only take my medication when I'm feeling low. I said, you can't do that. Take your medication every day, so you'll be steady. But they think they know better. They know more than their doctor. And it can be unfortunate. Because then people don't want to keep trying to feel better because they think their medication is not working. But the medication is not going to work unless you take the medication. That's what they're missing. That's what they don't want to understand. And there's no shame in being medicated. A lot of people still today feel really terrible that they have to take medication to feel better. I avoided for many years taking my blood pressure medication because I didn't want to be labeled in the system with a pre-existing condition. That guy over there has high blood pressure. What has he done? Well, you're a hothead. Well, you don't exercise enough. Well, you don't eat right. All these accusations in my head. And finally, I met a doctor who said it has nothing really to do with you as a person. It's how you're piped. It's how your tubing inside you is built. That's all it is. And we give you a pill and it goes down and everything's fine. I said, do I have to take the pill the rest of my life? Probably. I mean, you could get off it, but right now, what's wrong with taking a pill? Well, that's defeat. I'm supposed to be perfect. I'm from the Midwest. We don't have these kind of problems. And then one day you just say, okay, look, I surrender. Give me the medication. I'll keep working out. Just leave me alone. Well, what a great show today. Talked about a lot of interesting topics, a lot of concerning topics. And we need to talk about them because we need to start formulating a plan on how to deal with these deceitful people who are out there Bible thumping and then hitting us over the head with their Bible verses and their want for government censorship and their want for government interference and their want to interfere in the lives of ordinary people. If you have any thoughts or reactions to today's show, you can email me, david@boles.tv. You can find me online at Twitter @DavidBoles. Super follows available now. Gordon says, I'd rather roll follow-up regarding Vita Ramen if you have time before you wrap. Yes, Gordon, say whatever you want to say. You're also going to ask me something about Spider-Man, which you weren't exactly clear about, so you can ask about that too, or you can save it for later. It's up to you. But I'll keep talking and you type when you're ready. And you can follow us on Facebook. BOLES is the business page. Instagram is Boles Books. Boles TV is our TikTok. Our video on demand is boles.live. And if you are so inclined to join our new Discord server that has a lot more new content, it is discord.gg/BOLES. Gordon says, I got an email from their support team saying, sorry, we just saw your email asking us to make it all vegan. Uh-oh. Oh no, we sent what we sent. But if you confirm your address, we will send you a fully vegan order for free. Well, they do that. They're very, very responsive to customer service. Don't throw away what they sent you, though. I mean, I guess you could give it to somebody who wants to eat that. But if you want to eat it, just add your own flavor pack. Buy your own marinara sauce and put it on the noodles. It'll be delicious. And I'm glad that they're being proactive. You didn't have to ask for a refund. I had a Soylent delivery from a month ago that was 3 bottles exploded, destroyed the entire package. And I said, can you replace the bottles that at least exploded if you won't replace everything? But we threw it all out. They won't even reply to me. Gordon says, the one thing I wanted to say about Spider-Man is that in the second Tom film, now I checked this before the show today. There are a lot of Tom films. You have to, which one is it? Is it the one with Michael Keaton, or is it something else? The second Tom film. The villain said he came from a different universe, but it turned out that he was a charlatan. So it's a big deal that in the third film, they confirmed that it wasn't just a hoax perpetuated by someone, that there is a multiverse. Well, my head's spinning from all this multiverse stuff. And Gordon says about Vita Ramen, they did ask me to give the non-vegan flavorings to a non-vegan friend, and I said, of course I will. The second Tom film is Far From Home with Mysterio. I thought the second Tom film was the one with Michael Keaton, which I thought was just awful. Terrible. Well, I'm glad Vita Ramen did that for you. And remember, just keep in mind, they're 3 kids. And they're trying to get this figured out. And they've been at it for 3 or 4 years. And they still haven't got it figured out yet. They're having a hard time. But they did the right darn thing and sent you all vegan stuff. That's good. And I'm not sure. I think they have like a mushroom one. I'm not sure what makes it non-vegan. You'll have to check. I mean, some of them have, I think pork in it or something. That's clear. But the others, I don't know. Far From Home with Mysterio. Yeah, the Mysterio one I thought was pretty interesting. I thought that was... And that set up the one that we just saw, Far From Home. And who was the bad guy in that? I can't remember his name. Donnie Darko. Jake Gyllenhaal. Terrific. I thought he was great as Mysterio. That was a pretty good movie with all the drones and all the scary stuff. And the multiverse thing is interesting and also very confusing because you have to honor the multiverse. And I don't think that the multiverse was honored in this Far From Home. Gordon says the best part was that twist. Yeah. And the Doctor Strange is now having his own multiverse, which I don't think I understand. I don't know if it's a continuation of what happened with Spider-Man, but it sounds interesting. But and left over from our conversation yesterday, so in the most recent Spider-Man, so the Spider-Man healed all the villains, and then what happened? They were sent back home, and then they were killed by their Spider-Man, but they died a good person? Or is it that they were killed, they went back, and they lived, and continued to live as a good person? I don't understand it. Gordon says it's all a continuation, not just from Spider-Man, but from the Wanda show that was on Disney+. That I did not watch. It sounded interesting, but I get a little burned out on comic book characters. Gordon says the big folks at Marvel expect us to see every single MCU film, as well as their TV shows. You're exactly right. And Marvel is Disney, is that not right? It's Disney that's forcing us to see everything. And I read something, the terrible Hawkeye show, nobody liked that. Nobody watched it. So nobody knows what the continuation is in that story because it's not being watched. There are the old shows, the Daredevil shows, the other shows that were on a different network and were owned by a different company. Then now they're back in the fold. Oh, it's all so confusing. So you really do have to be into it. Just like the Star Wars saga. I mean, the first 3 movies I saw, I love. Gordon disagrees. I loved Hawkeye. Hawkeye was part action, part of education on what happens if you get wounded. I've never watched it, but the online reaction that I've seen is that it was not very successful and people didn't watch it. I have no idea. I like Jeremy Renner, though. I think he's a very interesting actor. But I have a certain amount of time in the day and a certain amount of time to try to figure out what I'm going to be doing next. And I can watch some stuff on Disney, but I'm not going to watch everything. But I'm glad you liked it. That's good. That makes the experience worthwhile and worth pursuing. But I'm a little worried that, and now this Thor thing, right? Okay, you talked about that yesterday, Gordon, and I went and watched. And by the time you said there were 2 million views, and by the time that I watched, there were 4 million views. Gordon says the Jeff Goldblum documentary series is interesting and educational, in my opinion. That has nothing to do with the multiverse, though, if I'm remembering it right. And I agree with you. I love Jeff. He's terrific. His show is great. I don't remember the name of his show, but I have seen that, where he kind of travels around and does weird things or talks about things. That I agree. So we have very interesting pathways and things to discuss. And we have limited times in our lives, so it'll be very interesting to see how all of this plays out. And the Thor, right, I watched it. It has that feeling of, oh, what is that terrible? I watched one of them with the Chris Pratt people. With the modern music, the makes a little hepcat and everything. Dave Bautista. Gordon says to understand the new Thor movie, you'd have to have seen the last two most recent Avenger films and probably the Guardians of the Galaxy films. I have seen all the Avengers films. I've not seen all the Guardians of the Galaxy films. But the tone of it is what is dismaying to me. Because Thor, when I grew up, was this big man Hulk. And now Chris Hemsworth has made him into this weirdo. And I know he doesn't write the scripts, so he's doing what he's been asked to do. But Sweet Child of Mine is the song for Thor. It doesn't fit. And Gordon says, calling it modern music in the Guardian films, it's largely a 1970s soundtrack. It is, but it's not what you expect as classical music, which is what you see in most of these films. There's composed with a classical tinge to it. The Danny Elfman stuff is very interesting. The guy who does all of who does Tenet and does all of those movies, very interesting, and it has a classical bent to it. The Christopher Nolan composer, I believe he's Polish. Very interesting ear. But it's not going back into what I call mainstream modern melodies of hit songs and trying to press them into the future. So Sweet Child of Mine is like just weird. Thor and the dancing. And there are people who love the young Thor dressed in the traditional outfit. And now the new Thor outfit, they say, looks like Captain Marvel and not like Thor. And why are they trying to just have this fun, silly show? Because I guess Thor is retiring or something, and the new Thor is taking over, and she's female Thor. I've lost track. Just like the Star Wars shows, the first three movies loved. George Lucas at his best. And then Jar Jar Binks, and then The Sale, and then now I can't follow any of it. None of it makes any sense to me. I think Kylo Ren is Darth Vader. That's how out of it I am. Gordon says, the notion of the Guardian soundtrack is the Chris Pratt character got a mixtape from his mother as she lay dying, and that's the soundtrack. Yeah, I get it. And what is the soundtrack for Thor, being Sweet Child of Mine? I don't get it. It seems a little too modern for me for an ancient Thor story. But I guess if I want a Thor story, what's the new movie that you see advertised everywhere that's in theaters only starting Friday? The Northman. Now that, to me, is what a Thor movie should look like. Dark and dank. And then we have the Aquaman movies, which is ridiculous. None of that ever made any sense. Love Jason Momoa, though. Gordon says, well, the central question of that song is, where do we go now? Where do we go now? And I'm just thinking, for me, it's a modern song where people relate to it and relate to one specific thing. And then to take that specific thing and reapply it to something new and different is a little confusing for an older audience member. Now, maybe the young kids today don't know Axl Rose and Guns N' Roses, and hey, it's a new song to them, which is what I think they're relying on. The Thor movie is not for adults. Just like the latest Wonder Woman movie was really terrible, 1984. The first one's pretty good. The second one didn't make sense. But as you can tell, I'm not really into comic book characters as movie proposals. I will take the Silent Movie by Martin Scorsese. The song is 28 years old. Well, to me, that's a baby, Gordon. Anyone under the age of 30, to me, is a baby. That's part of the profit of being an old person. But people my age, Sweet Child of Mine, it takes you right back to what, the 80s, and a very specific time and place. That does not mesh well with Thor. And reading some of the online comments, people were saying, the first 20 seconds I thought, that sounds like Guns N' Roses. And then they started singing and said, oh, it is Guns N' Roses. They didn't get it. And I love the song. Just very strange experience. But I know these movies are not intended for me. They don't want me to go. They don't want me to talk about it because I'm old and I'm not their target audience. They don't care what I say. And to that I say that's fine, but I'm going to talk about it on the live show. Gordon says, our friend Bing says, June of 1988. I was about to turn 11. Well, Gordon. You're a young lad with young children. And again, these Guardian movies are not for people over the age of 40 years old. They want something new. They want something funky. For me, if they were trying to make this, funny and interesting, they'd take a Frank Sinatra song and use that. Instead, that would be the effect for me that they're trying to have with the effect for Sweet Child of Mine for these young kids. And it's a great song, and if people discover Guns N' Roses and Slash and Axl, who, thank God, is still alive and did not succumb to his demons and his addictions, and I believe he is medicated and getting severe psychological and psychiatric help, which is fantastic. Saved his life. And I'm sure the Thor movie will make a lot of money. And that's the idea in Hollywood now. Will it make money? It used to be, is it a good movie? And then maybe it'll win an award or two to support the movie, but now it's all about the bottom line. Bigger the better. Michael Bay everything. Just blow it up and see what happens. Gordon is 44. In July, I will be a year away from 46. I've decided to boycott the number in between due to its connection to the orange fellow that was in the White House for a while. Hasn't he also started calling himself 45 and 47 now? I believe he has. And they've set it up now. It's all set up for him to walk back in. It's done. It's over. The Democrats could have stopped it. Joe Manchin wouldn't have any part of it. Kyrsten Sinema wouldn't have any part of it. And now they've given control to the Republicans, starting in 2024 for the rest of our living lives. There's no way out of it. The game is now rigged in their favor. And we were warned. I did the warning. Gordon did the warning. Nothing happened. They didn't care. Oh, it can't happen in America. This is America. The elections have already been fixed. And if a Democrat wins, it's cheating. And if a Republican wins, we save the system. We're in for some bad times. I wonder about the young people and what kind of life they will have in 20 years. Me! I'll probably be sitting on a rock in the sun somewhere, not caring about anything, if I'm lucky. But for the kids coming up today, I don't think that they know what's in store for them. Sweet Child of Mine is only the beginning. Wait till Taylor Swift is the throwback in multiverse movie number 43. But I like the protest to not ever mention the number 45. I think that's very smart. And when people ask you how old you are, you'll just say, I'm older than, 44, and I'm younger than 46. Nothing like a straight answer. Now, Gordon, did you try to post a link today? And you can also do this offline if you want to go and practice. You can go to twitch.tv/Boles TV and click on the chat button and you can type things. I'm turning 46 next year. That's very good. I love that. I just hope you don't have to do it again when you're 47. That would be a tragedy. Can you imagine going through all of that again? That has to, whatever Democrat's going to take on Trump or his associates, it's got to be, we will never go back. Never again. That has to be the slogan. Oh, look at this. Here's a test. The dancing cat. Now, if I click on that, oh, look at that. Fabulous, it works. So I click on it, and it takes me right here. Oh, it's so beautiful. The dancing cat. San Jose's creative space for people and cats. Oh, that looks so cute. Is this like a restaurant? Or is it like a play place? Oh, it's adoptable cats. Oh, that's so cute. The link worked. And I think if you have the things installed, if you hover over the link in chat, it should, if you have the things installed, show you a preview of the website. Oh, I love that. And it worked so well. Gordon did a search for dancing cat. Oh, I love it. A website, The Dancing Cat. Hold your next cat event at The Dancing Cat. I love it. I love it. Oh, that's so sweet. Well, now we know the links work. That's good. Gordon's not being blocked by a bot. That's the good news of the day. And Guns N' Roses is a great band. I remember, let's see, 88? Yeah, I was right. I was at Columbia at that time. I had a friend from D.C. who was also at Columbia, and she loved Guns N' Roses. She was in love with Axl Rose, and she would play his music day and night. And everybody loved it because it's Guns N' Roses. It's Slash. It's Axl. It was a lot of fun. Those were the good days when music had a melody. And it wasn't just talking and rhyming words that sort of make sense. It was all about melody and singing along. Do people sing along to rap music? I don't think they do. They might talk along, but I don't think they sing along. Rap music does not appear to be about melody. But I understand that's the new thing. It's the wave of the world. Hip-hop and all that rot. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with a Thor movie. If it has the same success as Spider-Man. Some people are saying it's not going to because people are getting burned out on all of this superhero stuff from Disney Plus on TV, streaming, and now you have to go pay for it in the theater. And some people are worried about the gay character that I guess is in the Thor movie. Gordon says, I recently really appreciated some of the lyrics in rap. People rap along. Well, that is very interesting, and I'm glad you're open to it, Gordon. I have tried to listen to a lot of it, and not a lot of it I understand. But then again, I am old and you are young. That's a song, I think. With you, I'm born again. What does that say? Billy Preston, Sarita. Which is a weird combination. And a weird idea. Very religious song, I guess. And considering who Billy Preston was and what he went through as an abused child, who grew up and did very well, and then his childhood eventually destroyed him. It's an interesting song. full of meaning and perseverance that were not there with the original intention. So I hope wherever you are in the world, you have a wonderful day, a good evening, a delightful nap, and when you awaken, may your soul be filled with joy and anticipation of the next coming moments. I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, and Gordon says, here we go, I'm coming back. This is the great thing about your own show. You can start and stop whenever you want to. Gordon says, test number 2. The sketch show had a good sketch related to a father trying to share rap with his family. Now, I can show this, but I can't play it because I will be hit by a DMCA takedown. So this is a father, NWA, help the police. Now that's funny. Soundtrack removed. Now, that is one song that I really do love. F the Police, NWA. That is a song that you can sing along with. Fantastic, full of rage. Still applicable today. I think half the guys who were saying it were dead, right? Oh, I'm not even showing it to you. Here we go. This is what Gordon said. NWA, help the police instead of F the police, which sounds very funny. So we can watch this, but I can't play the sound, or it'll be taken down. And NWA means a phrase that I cannot repeat, but it's still very funny. Watch it when you're off stream. It's a good laugh because of how the guy changes it. I will definitely listen to it off stream. And you put the link in chat, which is great, so it's preserved, so anybody who watches this video on demand, replay on Twitch, can click on it and go watch it. It's wonderful. Can I turn on the CC? Let's see. Are they available? The subtitles are unavailable. Happens a lot. It's supposed to be automatic on new uploads, but you have to tell YouTube to do it or it doesn't do it. I have mine set to default. But NWA was great. I love that terrible song, F the Police. And I believe every word they sing. And I think half of them are now dead, which is sort of alarming. Because it doesn't seem that long ago, but I guess it was. Okay, so we'll watch that. Oh, there's Fabiano Coriano. I love him. Great chess player. So, Gordon, if you have anything else to share, let me know. Otherwise, I'll say goodbye. Again. And take a look at what we're doing tomorrow. Prepare a lot of stuff, get to some of it, go a different way. Loop back around, try to connect it all together. And there's my bot. I love that. Now, when Jan is on, she types everything. So our Autobots come and promote stuff regularly, usually in the middle of her teaching. And I never really get a bot like that because I don't type a lot. And I guess it's based on how many lines, how often chat is going. So if there's no chat, there's not a lot of things popping up, which seems to me it should be the opposite. If there's not a lot of chat, then the promo should be popping up. But I haven't figured it out yet. And everything is closed captioned. This is live closed captioned. Our video on demand is closed captioned over on YouTube, not on Twitch, because they don't caption everything. It's our responsibility to live caption the show. And we do via our Twitch stream and also via our Discord server, which is scriptly transcribing everything that I speak in our text channel. And you can get access to our text and voice channel on Discord. Just send me a little note and I'll get you in. So if there's nothing else, no other topics, nothing else to share, then I will say goodbye to you a second time. Maybe a third time, who knows? I might say goodbye and come back again a third time. Like a bad penny. Now, see, young kids don't know what that means. They don't know what a bad penny is. But the old people would know. And now it's time for some pasta. Work on the video on demand. I'm going to get that uploaded. And all the while, I'm going to be cooking some delicious pasta. And chat about that tomorrow. I'll see you later.